And good evening again from Rome as the process of the conclave has begun. No more voting tonight. The next vote in the morning. 77 votes among the voting cardinals will decide who the next pope is. And make no mistake, the jockeying for those votes is well underway. Joining us now, Father Jonathan Morris, who's a Fox News contributor. And Father, I think one of the questions that people who are within the church and those who watch the church, one of the questions they have is, how can this church relate to a group of people in a large part of the world where social ideas are changing, where this idea that women don't get to be a part of things is just not understandable, that some of the social issues that the church still espouses, I don't have to go through them all here.
Sure.
Where so many people in the developed world are all about making changes in that way, but the places where the church wants to attract new followers are still of that same thinking. How can the church move forward when it's trying to attract people?
It's a great question, and I really do believe...
Not very eloquently stated, but you get the point.
We all get it, and the fact is that I think there is a real disconnect between a large part of society, even among Catholics, and what's going on here, right? And the teachings that are coming forth from the Vatican. But I would also say that there's a disconnect, too, between what a lot of people are living and what the Bible teaches. And so the way the Vatican and the way the cardinals would be looking at this would be, how can we be faithful to what we believe we've been given by God, that is the teachings of the Bible and the tradition that's been passed on, while at the same time reaching out and presenting it in a way that's both joyful and convincing. And that's tough. And so you have to figure out, okay, what is it that we can change, and what is it that is not ours to change?
Well, maybe a question would be, why is it that the thinking that half the population is to be excluded as leadership? How can you be relevant and a figure of authority and one to whom we should pay attention when you exclude half of the population, when you don't allow women to be a part of things? I mean, just begin there.
Sure. I think you have a very good point, Shep, that I think women should have a much more active...
Is that changeable?
Much more active involvement and leadership in the church.
Why can't a woman be a cardinal?
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that if you understand priesthood or bishop is just a question of authority, well then women should be able to do that. But the way Jesus set it up, even with his first disciples, was he had women doing all sorts of things that went against all sorts of social habits or norms. And yet he chose 12 men to pass on a spiritual paternity. And the fact that when we see these pictures of all men leading the Vatican, I think personally there should be more women involved here in the Vatican. I look at it like, would the sex abuse crisis have happened to the degree that it has happened, and the cover-up, if there were more women involved in serious positions of leadership within the church? I don't think it would have happened in the same way. And I think you have a point. That doesn't mean that the church can say, we are going to change what Jesus did and say that women should be priests. Priest doesn't mean necessarily...
That was 2,000 years ago. Women didn't get to do anything 2,000 years ago. But the church doesn't evolve with society? I mean, in a time when we don't even have to go back that far until certain races were 3/5 and women didn't get to do anything. The world has changed. Everyone now understands that women are as capable of doing anything as men are, but not within the church.
No, I think
there's a disconnect.
I think a lot of women could give a much better homily than I could. Right? Absolutely.
I don't think the sex really decides how good your homily could be. Why does the church think it does?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it's a theological issue of what is the priesthood.
Right.
You know, just like if I say, it's unfair that God didn't allow me to be married, to get pregnant and have children, because I'm a man and I should be able to do that. No, I mean, men and women are different and they have different roles, and the church is saying the priesthood in particular, it's about spiritual paternity. Jesus set it up that way and we can't change it. But should women be more involved in leadership in the church? You better believe it. I would say so, and I hope they're saying that in there too.
Father Morris, thank you.
All right, Shep.